Hello, I'm so excited. Tonight we're going to read Alligator Baby.
Alligator Baby by Robert Munsch. One night, Kristen's mother woke up and yelled, "A baby, a baby! I'm having a baby!" Kristen's father jumped up, zoomed around the room, got dressed, and grabbed Kristen's mother by the hand. They ran downstairs to the car and drove off really fast. Vroom! Unfortunately, they got lost. They didn't go to the hospital. They went to the zoo. But it was okay. Kristen's mother had a lovely baby. Then they drove home and knocked on their front door. Blam, 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 blam. Kristen opened up the door and there was her mother holding something all wrapped up. "Kristen," she said, "would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. So Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket. She saw a long green tail and said, "That's not a people tail." Kristen lifted up the middle of the blanket, saw a green claw and said, "That's not a people claw." Kristen lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a long green face with lots of teeth and said, "That's not a people face. That is not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Can you see the green tail right there? Just then, the baby reached up and bit Kristen's mother on the nose. She yelled, "Ah!" Then the baby reached up and bit her father on the nose, and he yelled, "Ah!" "That's not a people baby," said Kristen. "That's an alligator baby." "Goodness," said her mother, "we've got the wrong baby." So Kristen put the alligator baby into the fish tank. And her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour and knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. Kristen opened the door and her mother said, "Would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket, saw a fishy tail and said, "That's not a people tail." Kristen lifted up the middle of the blanket, saw a flipper and said, "That's not a people flipper." Kristen lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a face with whiskers and said, "That's not a people face. This is not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," Mother says, "don't be jealous." "Oh my gosh, that is not a people baby. What did they bring home?" "It's got flippers and whiskers, and Dad has a little piece of fish in his pocket, so maybe the baby eats fish." Oh my goodness, what's going to happen next? Just then, the baby reached up with its flipper and flapped Father's face. Whap, 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 whap. He yelled, "Ah, it's a seal baby. We've got the wrong baby." Kristen put the seal baby in the bathtub and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour and knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. They said, "Kristen, would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. She lifted up the bottom of the blanket, saw a very hairy leg, and said, "That's not a people leg." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and saw a very hairy arm and said, "That's not a people arm." She lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a very hairy face and said, "That's not a people face. That is not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous." What do you think they brought home this time? The father is holding a banana, and the feet on this baby are so hairy. What do you think Kristen's mother and father brought home from the zoo? Then the baby reached up with its feet and grabbed her mother's ear and her father's ear, and they both yelled, "Ah! It's a gorilla baby! Oh my goodness, the gorilla has their ears. It's a gorilla baby! We've got the wrong baby." "Let me do it," said Kristen. So her mother and father put the baby gorilla on the chandelier in the living room, and Kristen went off to the zoo on her bicycle. First, Kristen looked in the snake cage. No people babies. Then Kristen looked in the wombat cage. No people babies. Then Kristen looked in the elephant cage. No people babies. Then she stopped and listened. From far away, she heard, "Wah, wah, wah, wah." "That's more like it," said Kristen, and she followed the sound. It was coming from the gorilla cage. Kristen looked at the mommy gorilla and said, "Give me my baby brother." The gorilla jumped away and wouldn't give the baby back at all. Then the people baby reached up and bit the gorilla on the nose, and the gorilla yelled, "Ah!" and handed the baby to Kristen. Kristen jumped on her bicycle and pedaled home. Kristen knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. When her parents opened it, she said, "Would you like to see your new baby?" Kristen's mother lifted up the bottom of the blanket and said, "Look, people legs." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and said, "Look, people hands." She lifted up the top of the blanket and said, "Look, a people face." Kristen's mother picked up her baby and gave it a big hug. Her father took the baby and gave it a big hug. And her mother said, "Kristen, Kristen, you got our baby back. Good for you." Even the cat's happy. "But what are we going to do with all these other babies?" yelled Kristen's father. "There is a seal baby in the bathtub, and an alligator baby in the fish tank, and a gorilla baby hanging from the chandelier. We should take them back to the zoo." But Kristen looked out the window and said, "I don't think we'll have to do anything at all. Oh my goodness, look, the mommies from the zoo have come back to get their babies. The gorilla mommy is going to get her baby gorilla. The seal mommy is going to go get her baby seal who's over here. And the alligator mommy is going to go get her alligator baby. They've all come from the zoo to get their babies." And everything was okay until Kristen's mother had twins. The end. Oh, what a happy ending. Look at all the smiles. Kristen's mommy and daddy are smiling, and even the cat seems happy. And Kristen's so happy, and the fish in the fish tank are happy. And look at the gorilla mommy. She's so happy to have her baby. And the alligator mommy is happy to have her baby. And the seal mommy is happy to have her baby. It's a happy ending to this story. The end.